Yep, I was talking and the mic was off the whole time, y'all. Hold on a second. Let me get some music for y'all. I can't believe I was talking and nobody heard me. How y'all feeling? Galito, Phoenix. Peace, real rap. Galito, Contrell. Hit your hot. Galito, Lloyd. Oh, let me put the music on. Yeah, I see. I know everything healthy, Phoenix. And when God will tear it. Hey, Chelsea. We better get started in a minute. Hold on, y'all. Helito Burners Brass. Peace, Demetrius. Peace, Con Hair. Hey, Terry. So you sipping fire water? Helito George. Helito Takari. You said your grandfather was the maker of fire water? All right, y'all. Let's couple y'all come on here. I'm about to get started. Well, let me pull up the chat on my phone. He says, what? Smooth fire water, champagne, mango, mimosas. I'm getting all fancy. You sound like you at a restaurant or something. Oh, man. Peace, LJ. How y'all doing? Hold on, let me pull this up. The heck? I'm gonna come up. All right, y'all. So people been asking for the receipts, and I got the receipts because people acting like I'm making up stuff and I'm talking crazy or whatever. Y'all know that's not the case. All right. So some of y'all know I made a post probably last week about Balboa. Now, how do you pronounce his name again? Let me see. Vasco Nunez de Balboa, if you want to look it up. Vasco Nunez de Balboa. He was a Spanish, they say explorer, conquistador, more like a mercenary. And he was basically here exploring the land, quote unquote. And he murdered a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people. Now, some of those people just happened to be homosexual people or transgender people. Okay, so if y'all watching the replay in the morning, because I know some parents may not want their children to hear the subject, it's going to be some graphic words and things said. So this is a parental warning. It's really because they describe sodomy and things in some of these. And I might not read all that, but just the whole mention of that. Got to let the parents know beforehand. You said, Demetrius, you said you're excited somebody's talking about it too. Yeah, because people are making it taboo and things and act like it's only happened after the colonizers, even though there's a whole lot of proof here and in other places that it existed before the Europeans got there. Right, yeah, I might need to get me a glass tonight. Hold on, y'all. Oh, yeah, let me put another song on so I can... No, I can bring it with me. But anyways, we're going to get into it. I'm about to pull up some... I got PDFs. I got articles. I got pictures. So the main picture that some of y'all see on the preview is actually one of the drawings that they had of the indigenous people being killed by Balboa. You say history is still repeating itself? Yeah, suppression. Yeah, they're definitely suppressing not energy. Yeah, suppressing energy too, and information. Yeah, the colonizers didn't like it. They didn't. Hold on, let me get a cup. Yeah, they definitely didn't like it. And for a lot of the tribes who actually had people practicing it, a lot of those people were conjurers and medicine people. Okay. So some of them were important people to the tribe. And one of the guys we're going to see was actually the brother of one of the chiefs. Okay. Peace. Hey, DC Big. Okay. Get a little bit of wine. Hold on. Yeah, definitely. Hold on one second. Nothing's wrong with that. I'm hungry. Okay, lay down, please. Y'all, hold on one second, y'all. Emma, where do you put this? Can I have some toast? Yeah, give me a second. All right, hold on you 1 second, y'all. Little bear woke up. Play some music for y'all. right, I'm back, y'all. So we're glad to get started. Lito, Loyalty. You like the music? A real rap, you said, how did they like it when they practiced it for thousands of years on this Slav? What? Oh, I'm not sure what you mean. Well, around this time, the Catholics, they had like a strict thing against homosexuality, so they were banning it. And plus, they wanted to make an excuse to exterminate a lot of the Indians. So in this area where Balboa was, eventually it was like, they claimed that 25 to 100 million indigenous people were killed. That's what they claim. But I'm not sure if that's true. Oh, thank you, y'all. Hello, you're a snake, you're back. Peace, Chatahaya. All right, so let me get into it. I'm about to share the screen. So I got all these receipts up here. Hold on. You said I'm asking. Let me do the entire screen. You said I'm asking how did they have an issue when they practice it? It was hypocrisy. That's what I'm saying, right? But they practiced it and they were hiding what they were doing. Let's see. All right. Let me know if y'all can see it. Were these originals or chinos? The ones that they depicted were the originals, and I'm sure the chino ones did it too. Pretty sure they did it too. Little bit. Can you turn the volume down, please? All right, so here we go. This is from Los Hugo's Negroes. Cannibalism, sodomy, and the failure of modernity in terra firme. Okay, so that means America, right? So they're talking about Vasco Nunez de Balboa. Let me see if I can zoom in. This one. And it says, as Vasco Nunez de Balboa and his party penetrated the land they knew as terra firme, in September of 1513, they left many bodies in their wake. Okay. And they're talking about they're trying to go from the Caribbean coast over to what is now the Isthmus of Panama. You say, how do you know it's accurate? This is their first eyewitness, I guess, accounts. All right. We also have a lot of oral history as well that we know these people existed. Okay. But like I was telling everybody, this whole scene with Balboa is, if you know if you're into American Indian history, it's kind of common knowledge. So to have such a backlash from people, So anyways, let's get back into it. So the assembled party traveled to Cherokee inland into the territory of Kwa, where the what is it called? Cacique. I'll be messing up these names. I think it's Cacique of the same name, according to Peter Mayer in 1516 account of the incident in De Orb Novo, or decades. Now I don't know Spanish, so right, Phoenix, the Darren era. Okay, so let's go down to. They're talking about a battle. Okay, here it is. A battle ensued, and Mayer reported that 600 people, including the Caliph, were slain like brute beasts, okay? An account details the ways Balboa's party dismembered and killed the occupants of Curaçao. In the wake of the massacre, he relates that Balboa discovers Nefanda infecta venerea in the village of Quayrequa and takes measures to deal with it. So Jonathan Goldberg opens in this article Sodomy in the New World, Anthropologies and Old and New, with the account of this incident, which he calls an originary moment in the history of the making of America. Hey, Diane, you said you got distracted. It's okay. We're just really getting started. So I just pulled the article up. Okay. It says, though I agree that this moment is significant, I can see it as an early example of the production of the masculine governmentally that continues in the form of impunity or impunidad throughout the Americas. Okay, and it's talking about how Balboa set his dogs on 40 or 50 people of Quayrequa, described as being dressed as women or having committed a nefarious sin only a few days before he reached the summit of the mountains from which he first sees the great ocean of the South. Okay, let's get into the chilling account, allegedly. Let's see if I can move this over. And it says, tonight, by order of Captain Balboa, the dogs will sink their teeth into the naked flesh of 50 Indians of Panama. They would disembowel and devour 50 who were guilty of the abominable sin of sodomy, who only lacked tits and wombs to be women. Okay, so clearly these are transgender right here. The spectacle will take place in this mountain clearing along the trees that the storm uprooted a few days ago. By torch, the soldiers quarrel and jockey for the best places. Vasco Nunez de Balboa chairs the ceremony. His dogs, Leon Seco, heads up God's Avengers. Leon Seco, son of B. Cirilio, has a body crisscrossed with scars, and he is a past master of capturing and quarreling. Blah, blah, blah. So basically right there. Yeah, violent and evil. I don't even think they really cared. There's this excuse to attack the Indians, period. Whoever they found here. And he took it upon himself to use these people who he claimed, dressed as women as a prime example of why they needed to kill the Indians, because these people didn't live like how they lived. Dorothy, you said the backlash was and is crazy, unnecessary, unless folks like that cherry picking Bible conduct. Right, that's what they're doing. They're cherry picking. No, we don't speak Spanish, but we speak in English. It's still colonizer language. Okay, let me see. Go to the next page. Go to the next page. And here's the picture right here. This is the black and white version, but you'll see the other one. You clearly see afros on the men, or I don't want to misgender the people who were being attacked by the dogs. And that's supposed to be Balboa in the middle right here. But look what they got on. I mean, today's standards, that look like women's clothing. These tights and stuff they got on. But I digress. And it says the dogs led by Leon Seco, son of whatever, were imposing animals that, along with horses, were important tools of the conquest of the Spaniards. Francis Lopez de Gomara identifies the dogs as alanos, a muscular breed of hunting dog known as a Spanish bulldog, or alano español. In his brief mention of this incident, Gomara notes Balboa sits his dogs on 50 putos. he found there and then burned them, first knowing of their abominable and filthy sin, naming both the new way of dealing with Sodomites, the dogs, and the old with the burning. It's important to note that the dogs was used as a tool of war, but not, as far as I can tell, as a tool of punishment in the Inquisition, which had been the primary way to deal with pecado nefando and sodomy on the Spanish soil. So they're saying that they did the same thing with people back in Spain. All right, AP, if you're gonna keep this up, we're gonna time you out because you're kind of distracting people. Diane, you said in some Eastern countries, this group of people were celebrated as being closer to gods. They worshipped and believed that they could deliver messages directly to heaven. Yeah, I know, like the Hindu culture, they do believe that for sure. I do believe that. Let's see. I don't keep Ken Powhatan. I mean, if you're adding on, it's okay to disagree, but I'm just going on and saying no, no, when I'm showing you the proof right here. Okay. Let's see. Check out this is just one PDF. It's a whole bunch of them. So I'm try to get through this. Yeah, anybody who had lived in San Diego knows about Balboa. He has a statue there, which some people are upset about. And I found that in my research, but I was like, I'm not even going to bring it up because there's so much other stuff, that I found on here. Okay. So right here, it's talking about another author who's done research named Goldberg. And it says, for Goldberg, the sodomite signifies as sodomite. Though he is very clear, this language is not a part of Peter Mayer's account. The sodomite is a part of, but stands apart from indigenous people, a double body. The body of the sodomites takes on an originary status as the cause for what was done to the Indians in the first place, but its originary status is troubled not merely by being presented as an after effect, but also because cross-dress is a double body, and the only truth it testifies to is the preposterous nature of colonial accounts. You said it is his story, Tasha Shee. Story research requires you to turn over every stone. Forensic research, you will encounter the languages of the colonizers and said conquerors. Right. Yeah. You said a hospital named after him. Yeah, Balboa, I think he was believed to had made it up over there from down in Panama. Okay, and another thing right here, talking about understanding the people in that town, Quabuequans. So they're just calling everybody in that town as sodomites or cross-dressers and connecting the massacre to the legal category of sodomy enacted in Bowers requires a few, but my Virginia accent, like a few, a few complex radical moves, given that pecado nefando is not strictly speaking a legal category in 1513. So this is way back in 1513. He said they will use Balboa to say so-called blacks in America first, but mad at Tasha for discussing his other works. Exactly. So Balboa had a description talking about the people that he encountered, I believe, in the Carolinas area, and them being dark and not unlike the Africans and having a short ponytail, but yet he didn't do this other stuff, and these people. I don't want to keep calling them sodomites, but these people didn't exist. People with a quote unquote alternative lifestyle, if you want to believe that's alternative. All right. So here's his other part. Goldberg cites Peter Mayer's 1560 account of the incident in decades. From a 1555 English translation by Richard Eden that is quite embellished, and Michael Horswell cites the translation in Decolonizing the Sodomite as well. Balboa found the house of his king infected with the most abominable and unnatural lechery, for he found the king's brother and many other young men in women's apparel, smooth and effeminately decked, which by the report of such as dwelt abode him, he abused with preposterous Venus. Of these abode the number of 40, he commanded be given for a prey to his dogs. Okay, here's another account of the same incident. And the brother of the king of that area in Panama was allegedly one of the leaders of these men and women's apparel. Right, exactly. It's about American Indians. Exactly. You said here in the Bay, it's part of a city called Balboa. Yeah, that's where it comes from. You said Rocky Balboa. I don't know about that. I have no idea about Rocky Balboa. I'm talking about the Spaniard mercenary. Okay, in the 1912 translation of Decades recounts the event somewhat differently. Vasco discovered that the village of Coahuequa was stained by the foulest vice. The king's brother and a number of other couriers were dressed as women, and according to the accounts of the neighbors, shared the same passion. So there's other people in the area who did the same thing, and weren't just this 40 group of people. Vasco ordered 40 of them to be torn to pieces by the dogs. Right. Yeah, you can't be cherry picking history. It is what it is. You don't have nobody's saying you got to live this lifestyle if you don't want to. So, whatever. I think some of the people really is living the lifestyle in the closet and they mad. That's why they get upset. It has to be because otherwise it don't make sense why they so mad. Yep, the rainbow was hijacked. Yep. I can go into the rainbow too. I found some information on that as well that I could go into, but I didn't even think to pull it up for this. But the flag that they're using for the LBGT is actually the flag for the Tupacs, the Tupac Amaros, the Incas. That's where that flag comes from. Yeah, they triggered. Yeah, so that rainbow flag, the Incas, the Tupac Amaros, yes, the Tupac Amaros used that flag. I mean, use those colors, not like a flag, but they had those colors in their clothing and things. He said King James are gay. That's what they say, allegedly. Allegedly, right? So I'm about to pull up some more. Let me just finish this PDF. There's like 10 more PDFs for people claiming that this is not real or not document. Thank you, Real Rap. Right. Thank you. Right, Loyalty. Shada, hey, you said this only because due to the laws that were set. Right. LJ, you said Venus was a huge factor in Central and South America spirituality. And Venus connects the femininity and sensuality and androgyny, the honor of both the masculine and feminine. Right. Yep. And that's where he mentioned the Venus something, saying that they mix up the Venus thing. A little bit, turn it down. Saying that they mix up Venus with it. Yeah, some people just transphobe it. You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna put the PDFs in on my Patreon, but you can look this up. I'll show you what it's called. This one's from Colorado, University of Colorado. You see at the bottom? It says Los Hecos, Negros, Cannibalism, Sodomy, and Failure, Minority, Terra Firme. Okay, y'all see it? You see the website. Y'all can just look that website up. You said, from what I found, though, all the pedophilia-ish research comes from the Eastern Hemisphere, from Greece, Rome, France, even Afghanistan. Dancing boys come there, in my opinion. Yeah, I couldn't find any of that over here. I really couldn't. You said there were also whole indigenous albino tribes. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Okay. Oh, did I read this one? All right. So both Goldberg and Richard Texler, 1996, point out the complicity of indigenous nobles with European systems of value in essentially trafficking in sodomites. So they're basically saying a lot of the people who turn to European indoctrination end up selling out a lot of those cross dressers or people who weren't Christian. Oh, did I finish this? No. And it says, move, and in this move, I find a kind of exceptionalism about sodomy that works against Goldberg's own critique for the search of a trans historical locus for the affirmation of an alternative sexual practice. You said, two spirits helped me make this place look beautiful. All the gardens, mazes, the castles, gays help with this. Their energy plus women's feminine energy and men's masculine energy for music. That's interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. I think that's all from this. That's all from this document. All right. Here's another one. This is Gender Nation. Now, this one might be a little biased because this one is from a queer perspective. The Gender of Nature's Nation. So the angels were androgynous. So how did the fallen angels have sex with earthly women and have trolls? I don't know. I'm not sure of the stories. Some people can't handle the truth because it forces them to be more open-minded, understanding, and compassionate. It says a lot more about them than the transgender folks. Yep. Some people are ready. Some people just don't like me anyways. They're just ready. They be mad. They be waiting to say something. So, all right. So I'm trying to put this in the unbiased view because you see the Spanish, they have their own agenda. And then you have also people who are writing from a homosexual perspective as well, and they're going to be more impartial too. So I'm trying to be in the middle, respect both sides on this. All right, it says, where to start? Since their arrival in the Western Hemisphere, the Spanish had taken great efforts to erase any trace of abominable sin of sodomy from the American soil. So right there is proof that it existed before they got here. The landscapes that were so incessantly praised by Europeans for their annual abundance housed cultures with sexual systems which not only accommodated non-heterosexual subjects, but endowed them with honorable social and religious functions. In many indigenous cultures across America, the Berdache, a biological man who assumed female social roles, functioned as peacemaker between rivaling tribes, mediator between the two sexes, performer of transformity spirits in religious ceremonies, or as a healer. Like I was saying before, they're like the conjurers and the medicine people, things like that. According to anthropologist Walter L. Williams, okay, this ain't no geek off the street. It's an anthropologist. The cultural difference represented in the deviant sexual figure of the Berdache reminded Spanish conquistadors of cultural, political, and economic conflicts at home. When the Spanish regained control from their Islamic enemy of the peninsula by the late 15th century, this offered the church an unprecedented opportunity to impose its rules on the newly conquered lands. By confiscating the property of condemned individuals, the church could gain a vast base of wealth in Spain, as well as eliminate possible competitors for control of the population. So y'all see what it's really about. This, along with the need to maximize population growth and differentiate from the Moors, makes it clear why the Spanish treated sodomy as such a serious breach of civil and religious standards. All right, so they needed to increase the race. We know they came here and they violated the women to impregnate them on purpose. They also brought their women over. Okay, so we know what they were trying to do. He says it's about vibration and who feel comfortable in their body. Yeah. LJ, you said I'm trans and I'm a healer and I have prophetic visions. Wow. Yeah, that's what in our cultures here, that's what most trans and same-sex related people did. Yeah, AP was, I mean, I can understand you were not agreeing, but you got to keep saying you're not agreeing. It's not productive. Okay. Against the historical background, the presence of sodomy in America sparked a questionable patriotic vigilance in colonial Spaniards. The same Bernal Diaz del Castillo, who commented on sweet-smelling trees and gifts of gold, also reported on the widespread customs of same-sex relations among the tribes. Hold on a second, y'all. All right. So they reported a widespread custom of same-sex relations amongst the tribes of Mexico. Whether he was witness to atrocities similar to those committed by Vasco Nunez de Balboa, after whom a peninsula in California's Orange County and a public park in San Diego are named, like y'all said, remains obscure. William quotes one of Antonio de la Calancha, who sang the praises of Balboa. When the latter saw men dressed as women and learned that they were sodomites, he knew the king and 40 others to be eaten by his dogs, a fine action of an honorable and Catholic Spaniard. So this horrific scene was preserved for posterity in a 1594 engraving by Theodore de Bry, and frequently reproduced in Colonial Stories of America, albeit with a caption that bears no hint as to the sexual identity of the Indians. So basically, they're trying to, in later times, trying to wipe that identity out away from the Indians. As Walter Williams observes, the culturally different act of sodomy was a legitimate reason for Spanish conquistadors to employ physical violence to depossess the indigenous people of America of their lands. English colonists and their American heirs preferred the violence of discursive and legal instruments to heterosexualize. Oops. I don't know where that one went. He said, "We are the Indians and we're still here. The only thing they did was put brother against brother and they got off." Yeah, they got off on that. They sure did. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Sexualized. Oops, I'm sorry. Sexualize America. As long as it did not serve reproductive functions, they excised sexuality from their text, silenced and dislocated it into the landscape, or incarcerated and expelled subjects of deviant sexuality from the confines of their communities. Okay. And right here it says in Love and Death, the American novel, 1960, Leslie Fielder commented in a quote from The Last of the Mohicans as an odd enough notion that tender heterosexual love is a possession only of men in settlements, and that in its place for the forest breeds equally tender passion between males, a passion that is, of course, sexless and holy. Okay. And that's talking about The Last of the Mohicans. It says, now whether Balboa killed Berdaches or William Thorpe desexualized the stories of Jonathan and David and Ruth and Naomi, presented them to his fellow Puritans aboard the Arabella. Okay. You said the Grand Spellberg they did not want women nor a prostitute. They wanted the angels, and those angels were hermaphrodites. Balance both masculine and feminine hermaphroditism. It's not only the physical, it's spiritual. Yeah, that's true. That's from their stories. Okay, let me see if any more is on here. I don't think it's any more stuff. This one, and this one is The Gender of Nature's Nation, a Queer Perspective by Catherine Gersaloff. Okay, here's another one. This is Sexuality, Gender, and Identity in the Great Plains History and Myth. Okay. Right here. Okay. So it says Walter L. Williams, we're talking about him again, tells us that to a good many Native American cultures, sex was not solely for recreative purposes, same thing. It was not necessarily restricted to marriage, and it was not confined to just members of the opposite sex. Chadahaya, you said, do you agree with the movement and position of power with the reestablishment of nations and tribes being built as few as procreation is concerned? You said LGBT. I don't, like I said the other day, I don't agree with the LGBT community. It's totally different than people who are, have same-sex relations or are transgender, because they have agenda, just like Black Lives Matter has an agenda. I don't agree with that either. So individual people, they're cool, that's their business, but these groups, they have agendas behind them. Tarot, you said, I know why they killed the gays, though, because me possessing that spirit, I know I can summon up some. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Y'all are the conjurers and the medicine people in certain societies. You said there are heterosexual people than LGBT. Why would procreation be on us? Yeah, there's way more heterosexual people, so it shouldn't even be an issue if, you know, a group of people want to do their thing, to be honest. All right, so Walter L. Williams tells us that to a good many Native American cultures, sex was not solely for procreative purposes, and it was not restricted to marriage, and it was not confined to the opposite sex. Rather, Native peoples viewed sex as a gift from the spirit world to be enjoyed and appreciated. Many American Indian cultures, including those spread from the prairie and West Great Lakes to the northern and central plains and down through the lower Mississippi Valley, had even established a category of Berdache for physical males who did not fit the standard masculine character and who might also participate in sex with men. The Berdache had accepted roles to play in society, had appeared in tribal mythology, and had often achieved levels of social and spiritual prestige. Yeah, procreation is mandatory. There's enough people to procreate. The Berdache actually occupied a third gender. Okay. And they're just talking about some of the tribes over there. American cultures also allow for women who did not fit the typical feminine role, who appropriated a masculine character and even took other women for wives. Okay, that's the young MIA, whatever her name is, Young Ma and them. That's what they're talking about. The match. You like when she first came out and I heard her rap, I thought it was a male. I didn't know it was a female until I saw what she looked like, and still, she's very masculine in her dress as well. It says, he recalled that sodomy is not uncommonly committed. Many of the subjects of it are publicly known and do not appear despised or excite disgust. One of them was pointed out to us. He had submitted himself to it in consequence of a vow he had made to his mystic medicine. He said artificial insemination. No, I wasn't talking about that. No, I wasn't talking about that. I mean, some of these people actually had, they had same-sex relations to have children, some of them, just like today. You see some people doing that. It said the writings of Edwin Thompson Denig, who lived along the native peoples of the Upper Missouri between 1833 and 1856, recapitulate the remarkable story of a Gros Ventre Crow woman who was inclined to many accomplishments. She became a proficient hunter, a noted warrior, a courageous negotiator, and a chief, only third in ranking among 160 lodges. So she was a high-ranking chief. She even took herself a wife. Denig declares, strange country this, where males assume the dress and perform the duties of females, while women turn men and mate with their own sex. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. What else I got on here? Okay, so that's the only thing from this one, and this is sexuality, gender, and identity in the Great Plains, history and myth. Now, some of y'all say, "Oh, the Plains people aren't our people," but I see a lot of y'all posting pictures of the dark-skinned Plains people every day, and saying that's your people. So don't act like they're not your people now. That's all I'm saying. All right, this one is there's a lot in this one. Let me go to the top. This one is Sodomy in the New World. Oh, did I already do this one? No, I didn't do this one yet. All right. It's by Jonathan Goldberg. So this is the one that the other article was referring to as Goldberg. So this is Jonathan Goldberg. Okay. You said the Amazons were huge tribes of lesbians in South America. Yeah, I did hear that. To all power to all people. Yeah, 8-1. Let's see. I'm just putting the information out. I mean, y'all can hate it or love it. I'm being unbiased. I don't have no hate towards anybody. So, in the pages that follow, I take as an ordinary moment in the history of the making of America what happened 2 days before Balboa first laid eyes on the Pacific Ocean. And we read that in the other article. In a Panamanian village, after killing the leader of the Indians, Aqua and 600 of his warriors, Balboa fed to his dogs 40 more Indians accused of what? How do you say? Samitical practices. The earliest account of these events of October 1513 that I know appears in the Peter Mars Decades, first published in 1516. I'll be citing from the 1555 English translation as one way of immediately suggesting that these events cannot be thought of solely as episodes in Spanish American history. I have no interest in perpetuating the Black legend that seeks to exculpate Northern Europeans from the atrocities of the Spanish, and which is fueled with proto-nationalist racist energies. Okay, a lot of words here. A lot of words. So what do you say? Uh-oh, what y'all? I missed it. I missed it. All right. Anyways, let's see. In simple narrative terms, Balboa has already established his power by the act of carnage that precedes this one. If he seeks to remove the king's brother in order to make his position absolutely secure, it's more than a bit odd that the king's brother is depicted as a cross-dresser. But what this does is not something that can be found in the description of the battle scene, is to infuse Balboa's acts with moral purpose. Like we said, they have an agenda behind picking out this group of people. It's as if he's righting a wrong against the progenitives of gender. In this context, it's worth noting that many 16th century narratives describe Native women as offended by the Sodomites in their midst. But if the elimination of the king's brother and his minions is done for the sake of women and for the sake of the properties and progenitives of gender, it's also obviously fueled with misogyny, as the disgust and effeminacy implies, yet that disgust is displaced upon the cross-dressed Samitical body, and it's making posterius of the act of Venus. Okay. Moreover, I'm missing all the comments here. Moreover, one must notice that what Balboa knows about the king's brother, he does thanks to a native informant. Okay, so some people out there snitching. If the king's brother's manliness is discredited, no warrior, he stays at home with his cross-dressed minions. His political abilities are then impugned. Okay, so basically they're saying that him being a cross-dresser didn't matter because he was still a warrior, and his crew were still warriors, even though they wore dresses or whatever. They were still respected. And this seems to be an opinion about him shared by the native informants. Balboa is thus represented as serving the interest of those he conquered. This is, in fact, registered in the aftermath of the slaughter of the 40 Panamanians, as the Indians accommodate Balboa by handing over more sexual offenders, delivering up all such as they knew to be affected with that. Let me get to the other page. Pestilence. Okay. All right. This shrinkage abomination, Peter Mears explains, had not yet entered among the people, but was exercised only by the noblemen and gentlemen. But the people, lifting up their hands and eyes towards heaven, gave tokens that God was grievously offended with such vile deeds. All right. So they're saying that those women that told on the cross-dressers didn't like them and was praising God. I guess these are converts, for them being killed and slaughtered. All right. He writes, I would all men were of this opinion. So he said, I would basically saying he wished that everybody felt felt like these people felt. All right. But that's telling you the fact that he said that is telling you that all the other people didn't feel the same way. People had their own opinions. The slaughter of sodomites is thus mobilized as a kind of quasi-democratic vice. This is, of course, a ruse of power. Balboa eliminates and supplants, I say supplement, the Indian rulers, but appears to be acting as the liberator of the oppressed. Yeah, right. We know that's some BS. The Indians decry sodomy, or quote unquote good Indians, not merely in the accommodating behavior, but also in providing a belief that Eden endorses. They have made They have made the site upon which European values can be fostered. Okay, so they have completely been colonized in mind state. You said the nation builder shall remain fruitful and multiply, right, Phoenix? It don't matter what other people doing. Right. You said, I'm not saying that there wasn't any gay lesbians in tribes, but the way this is written, it seems they're pushing an agenda. Who's pushing an agenda? No, I think these historians are now just releasing this information again because it was hidden, like they keep saying. They pick and chose what they wanted to show from the Indians, indigenous people. Okay. Mirror writes, with perfect economy, hewed in pieces, as the butchers do flesh, from one arm, from another from a leg, from him a buttock, from another shoulder, and from some the neck of the body at one stroke. After 40 sodomites are fed to the dogs, two kinds of Indians appear in the text: sodomitical ones and the noble savages. Okay, so they're talking about these stereotypes that they played, the people who are the bad Indians and the good Indians, quote unquote. So the ones that were Christians, they said, were the good Indians. And the ones who did other things that they didn't agree with were the bad ones, right? Hey, young noble. Always give a side eye when perspective is given from a Eurocentric view. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got to see both views, see the views of the indigenous people and the Europeans who encountered them. You can't just say that the Europeans didn't see what they saw just because you don't agree with a lot of stuff that they say, even though in that same context, y'all agree with Balboa when he saw the melanated Indians in South Carolina, though, in North Carolina. Noble savages, right? Noble savages are that stereotype, you know, the whole Pocahontas stereotype, which she really didn't do all those things. That's what they want to perpetuate, the noble savages, the ones that's saving their lives and feeding them from starvation and stuff like that. Everything else they don't want to hear, right? They don't want to hear about our ceremonies. They don't want to hear about people cross-dressing. They don't want to hear about our battles against them, killing them up. So the slaughter of sodomites from such a vantage point serves only as a spectacle for Europe and its uses of power. Such mirror effects are quite complicated, however. Balboa's elevation is predicated. No, I said it right. Predicted. Anyways, on his replacing the native powers. Yet when natives are made to voice European beliefs about corrupt sexuality, the truth they utter is one about the corruptions of those in power, about noblemen and gentlemen, about very curators Balboa seeks to become. So they're saying, notice that the people only told on the cross-dressing nobles and gentlemen, people in higher ranking positions. They didn't tell on the regular water carriers and such. The assimilated Indians are what the Caucasians care about, right? That's the noble savage. It's the noble savage. They don't care about the wild Indians. Okay. All right. It says requires this does not necessarily reveal anything about their attitudes towards the sexual practices. It certainly suggests, however, that the natives themselves also were divided. Okay, everybody wasn't the same, and everybody didn't have that same attitude towards things. Most people, we mind our business, right? Oh, appreciate you, Atunis. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. All right, we mind our business like we do a lot today, okay? Sexuality is never simply a set of acts connected to questions of power. The Indians can be imagined to be using European beliefs as a way to work their way into the European system, or represented as if that is what they are doing. But this also is a way to accomplish what they conceivably want, the elimination of certain members of their own society. All right, so they snitched to get rid of, the noble people, because maybe they thought eventually, they could get in that position. All right. And it says, I cite from the version offered by Pedro de Sousa in 1553, and is quoted in, y'all know I can't do these names, Garcilaso de, whatever his name is, de la Vega's Royal Commentaries of the Incas, 1609. The fullest of the several accounts which Garcilaso alludes, the story presents as one which the natives have received a tradition. Oh, talking about the giants. Okay, this is set in Peru, and this is to talk about the giants in the countryside that indulge in cannibalism on a wide scale, but also find themselves sexually frustrated in their attempts on native women. It says, after some years, the giants who were still in this region, and as they had no women of their own, and the Indian women were too small for them, or else because the vice was habitual to them and inspired by the demon, okay, they practiced the unspeakable and horrible sin of sodomy, committing it openly and in public without fear of God or personal shame. So they're talking about the giants that were here. All right. And that's, proof for giants. Some people don't believe that giants were in this area either. Okay. All right. And this is more talking about Peter Mayer's account. So the natives ultimately mouthed European beliefs and a mythology that undermines them even as they produce them, and basically selling out their own people. In such ways, colonial texts produce a Semitical body as the body that needs to be effaced, basically get rid of. That's basically what that means. You say you heard about the giants? Yeah, that's kind of some weird stuff with the giants. All right, so this is a lot more. Let me see if this is anything. This is talking about one of the tribes, one of the basket carriers. Let me read it since it has something to do with it. Is in existence with this group of 20-odd people of 2 cross-dressed men who carry baskets rather than bows, telling with their presence Castries thanks that all the I'm sorry, y'all. I just had a glass. Permutations possible in this mathematical schema have been realized. It never occurs to him that there might be bow-carrying women or any arrangement for female sexual expression, nor to remark their absence among the Guayaki. That's the tribe. You said you had a cousin 7 feet tall. Yeah. Yep. Chief Powerton Wahasanaka was alleged to be 7 feet tall. And his brother Opechancanough was like 6'5", 6'7", something around there. These two men are only named figures and castrates, and although both cross-dress, they are otherwise quite different. One of them is maladjusted, I can't even pronounce that word, who refuses to carry his basket as women do, and he refuses to behave as a woman. He just likes to wear women's clothing. Um, However, how he came to be a basket carrier is not spelled out. Bad luck in hunting or such event has led him to be stigmatized and denied male prodigies. What? Prerogatives, I'm sorry. The other basket carrier, Krimbegi, castrates applauds as a model of social adjustment, and he offers his liberal endorsement of the tribe of social adjustment. Wait a minute. Of the tribe that has found room for him. Okay. So it says Krimbegi was in fact a sodomite. We are first told he was an incomprehensible pastor dad. These words, I'm telling you. And I do apologize for using these words. I don't like saying sodomites and all this stuff. This is ridiculous. Basically saying he was homosexual. Okay. He was also naturally artistic. Okay. So he lived as a woman. He lived his life with the women. That's what he did best, I guess. All right. There's more proof of that over here. And it's saying the word "crippy mayo" means anus make love. Okay, I'm just offended by that. Hey, Robbie. Yeah, it's a weird name. And it said it tells giving the native word a final true definition. But what of the men who slept with him? They would make their sexual they would make him their sexual partner and play their erotic games, quote unquote. This form of sex could possibly be serious, we are assured, in a spirit of baldiness and not of perversion. Okay. So it's more of a spiritual act. It's basically what they're saying. Ooh, this was hard to get through. the way those words were put together was, oh my God, the big words. Well, yes, a lot of us are artists and magically talented. So this is Sodomy in the New World. Anthropology is Old and New by Jonathan Goldberg, if you guys want to look that up. But yeah, you see a lot of old, outdated words on there. Okay, did I do that one? I did. So I wanted to bring up the picture. That's the picture that I used on the Placekeeper for the video. Hey, Marquita. So you can see that you see the little afros, you see these as Negro people, right? You see the heads on the ground with the afros. And that's supposed to be Balboa in the middle with this staff right beside the guy with this, I don't know, is that a flag, red flag? Yeah, but that's them. You said the shirts versus the blouses. You see that the Europeans got the blouses on. You see they got it on. Okay. Get out of that. Could y'all see that? Wait a minute, could y'all see the picture? Because it's not coming up on my, okay, y'all can see it, okay. Yeah, it wasn't coming up on my screen. Because I have my phone here. All right. And then this is the area right here where Balboa was. He said, thank you for going live. I've been labeling products and this is definitely keeping me awake. Oh, Love all your knowledge you provide. Thank you, Eurosnake. All right, so you can see the area right here that he traveled, and the red lines show you the way that they went right there. Okay. And I think the Panama Canal is right in this area now. Okay, and here's another map. This good any bigger? It's so small. Let me see, I can make it bigger. Oop, that's not working. All right, that's a little better, even though it's pixelated. Yeah, it's some more, y'all. It's more, but it's like really, I don't know if I want to go through all that. Let me see. We've been on here about an hour, right? It's a whole bunch of more, y'all. I'm getting fatigued. So I done gave more enough evidence right here. These are from academic journals, so those are legitimate sources. This is not, like I said, some geeks off the street. Okay. StreamYard. So missionaries really screwed our brains with their religious doctrines. Right. Yep, they sure did. Okay, so let's. All right, we read that one already. This one we read, genders. Ooh, child. Yes, we read this one about the Crow woman. Okay. There was one about the chair. I know y'all gonna be mad, but there's one about the Cherokee in here. All right. I gotta read this one out. I didn't even get to look at this one. Ooh, child. Y'all about to be mad at me. Cherokee Two Spirits, Gender, Ritual, and Spirituality in the Native South. Yeah, I was on for 4 hours, y'all. I can't do it again. I did it. I did it first time, and I was like, I'm not gonna do it again. And I guess Real Rap got on there, and he extended it for 4 hours. So I love y'all. I gotta when I get on here, I'll be on here a long time for me. Like it takes stuff out of me. Seriously. All right. So Cherokee Two Spirits, Gender, Ritual, and Spirituality in the Native South. All right, this is the abstract, basically talking about what they're talking about on here. Summary. It says the 16th century European and Euro-American observers have puzzled over the identity, roles, and sexuality of the Dache. That's that word again. Or what scholars now refer to as two-spirit. And that two-spirit term came about in 1990. So it's a new term, but each tribe had their own word, each language had their own word for the people. And Native American societies in Southeast, okay, blah, blah, blah. Over the past generation, gender theorists and lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LBGT scholars have produced fine studies that aim to demystify two spirits, formerly the domain of anthropological research, and decouple them from the radicalized and heteroformatic moods of thinking associated with settler colonialism in North America. Excuse me, y'all. He said, when people can be who they want to be themselves, that's when we all have peace on earth. Right. Too many phonies. Exactly. Yeah, Real Rap is AOL dial-up. You a mess. You are a mess. Yeah. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. This essay represents a historical intervention in the current scholarly excuse me, y'all, scholarly discussion about two-spirited people, focusing particularly on the Cherokee in early America. The following analyst considers the methodological challenges associated with historical studies of two spirits and presents insight into how historians might effectively craft more sophisticated and nuanced analysts of people variously referred to as hermaphrodites, sodomites, Verdace, and two-spirit people in Native American societies of Southeast. Now, you know, they just use that word Native American. Y'all know who they talking about, especially in the Southeast. You said breaking that. Yeah, take my time. I might have to come back, but I just want to clear up the whole thing with Balboa. So I showed y'all at least, what, 5, 6 different sources for Balboa. We can get into the rest of this. Yeah, I didn't want to get too much into it because I didn't want people to get offended when people come on here and, you know, call people names and stuff like that. That's my main issue. Everybody's been very respectful so far. Even AP, but he got kicked off. But he wasn't calling people names that bad. He wasn't that bad. Around 1825, a lone white traveler crossed through Cherokee country, encountered a group of Cherokees. After stopping and engaging them in conversation, the traveler learned that there were among them formerly men who assumed the dress and performed all the duties of women. This is the Cherokee, y'all, who lived their life in this manner. This report no doubt confused and confounded that traveler. During the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, travel writers, traders, soldiers, and missionaries puzzled over the meaning of indigenous social conventions and cultural practices. Historians have spent considerable time analyzing and debating the significance of this vast cache of ethnographic observations. Less attention has been paid to Berkaches, or what scholars will refer to as two-spirit. Okay. So, indeed, the Lone Traveler's 1825 recollection constitutes a rare piece of written evidence pertaining to the existence of two spirits among the Cherokee in early America. Y'all laughing? You said, that's us. Exactly. Exactly. Hold on a second, y'all. Yeah, that's the Cherokee. That's not no, y'all can't say it's the Plains or whatever. It's the Cherokee. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. No evidence survives to give us a clear sense of who that 1825 traveler was and what he made of the information described. Okay. All right. The traveler's recollections was preserved in an undated manuscript written by Charles C. Trowbridge. And they just get into biography of Trowbridge, blah, 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 blah. Okay. With the benefit of hindsight, however, we can hypothesize that small party of Cherokees described what Europeans and Euro-Americans once labeled as Verdaces, or what gender and lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender scholars now refer to as as two-spirit. You said the OG Cherokee? Yeah. All right. For example, Queely Duskrill Cherokee has led renewed scholarly efforts to understand the place of two spirits in Cherokee society. Driscoll's scholarship relies extensively on oral testimonies and draws superficially on historical scholarship. Indeed, Driscoll's work is motivated by his political activation, much as it is a product of scholarly inquiry. Okay. For instance, he writes that his objective in writing about Cherokee two spirits is to show how native two spirits people insist that we have a place within traditional religions and spiritual life. Okay, like we saw before, they're very involved in the spiritual world. Okay, in a lot of these tribes. Okay. Who's this person in the chat? All right. Early 19th century woodland Indians had shielded away from studies of two-spirited people. This has meant that gender theorists and LGBT scholars, comprising social scientists, literary theorists, and cultural study experts, have shaped recent scholarly understanding of two-spirited people. So they're saying just because a lot of the mainstream scholars refuse to talk about it, that gender theorists and LGBT scholars have to take on that role. Okay. All right. For historians, early American approach, the study of two-spirit people is this way problematic because one historian laments a historical ways in which two-spirit people are are imagined as part in idealized native past, which sexual freedom among traditional woodland Indians is portrayed as the norms. Questions can be asked about the tendency of LGBT scholarships to routinely associate two spirits with homosexuality. Sodomites and 18th and 19th century ethnologists have also articulated this relatively modern social legal category. They're basically saying that all two spirits were not did not have to do with sexuality, basically, or same sexual encounters and things like that. He said, I find it such. Notice how they have LGBT way back then. Yeah, in this article, I think this is from the 90s, though. I think the article is written from someone in the 90s using information from the past. Curtis, you said where I said hypothesize. I'm drinking my wine right now. That's why. All right, night, Phoenix. Night. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm drinking some wine now. These late night sessions. I had to drink some wine for this one. It was a lot of stress on me for this one because I'm getting a lot of backlash. People don't want to hear the raw information. They want to make their own personal opinions about this. And, it ain't all about that. For real. All right. Then I move a brief analysis of the documents that 21st century scholars of gender and sexuality interpret as proof of the existence of two-spirit people among the Cherokee and other American Indians societies in the Southeast. Sources that date back to the 16th century. Through the scarcity of written sources is problematic. The material that has survived nonetheless provides important clues for understanding the trajectory of historically constructed identity of two spirits. Okay, a lot of big words. So basically, the little bit of documents that they found is solid proof, basically what they're saying. Then I shift, what do they say? Then I shift focus to an essay back to the 18th century and early 19th century, giving special attention to the transformative period of post-contact Cherokee history. Okay. Surviving written documentations from the late 18th and early 19th century forces us to ask some serious questions about Cherokee two-spirit. For example, was the 1825 quotation that I opened this essay with really proof, as historian Walter L. Williams thinks of two-spirit people in Cherokee society during the early republic. Okay. Alternatively, it is more accurate to recognize Cherokee two-spirits in early republic not as products of traditional or ancient cultural conventions, but as explainers of social change. I know I messed the word up. Made amid the pressures of settler colonization, exposure to foreign culture. So they're asking questions whether it is ancient practice or is something new they learned from the colonists, which a lot of y'all have asked. But we saw on the other document that those people in Panama and those areas were doing that, in the Plains area was doing it before contact. All right, the word brigaching Does not appear in written sources pertaining to the 18th century and early 19th century woodland South. So where does this word come from? And Badache has its etymological etymological origins in Arabic-speaking regions of the word. It means bradaj or bara, meaning kept boy, male prostitute, or catamite. I don't even know what a catamite is, y'all. Yeah, the wine is kicking. The wine is kicking in. The wine is kicking in. I'm telling you. All right. So basically, y'all see what that means. It's a kept boy. All right. Let's get to the Cherokee stuff. When scholarship on the Native American Berdache began taking shape in the early 20th century, scholars were divided over the prevalence of such people among the indigenous Americans. This early literature was dominated by anthropologists such as Alfred Kober, who argued that the Berdache existed among all Native societies in colonial America. In contrast, his fellow anthropologist John Swadston argued greater attention to geographical context, arguing Berdaches were not referred to by writers on Virginia and Eastern Carolina, but in most other parts of the Southeast, they seem to have formed an important factor in social institution, particularly it would seem in Florida. Yeah, so Florida had a lot of documentation dealing with the Tumica and that tribe. I think one of their chiefs or their kings was homosexual. So I saw that come up several times in my research. Yeah. So long as the original humans existed, LGBTG, I said LGPG, LGBTQ people have existed too. Okay. That's what LJ said. All right. Ooh, shoot. Everybody getting the Choctaws. Over the course of the 20th century, anthropologists and historians drew from a small but relatively detailed sampling of written documents speculative that the Radache may have lived among the 5 tribes of the Southeast: the Choctaws, the Chickasaws, Creeks, Seminoles, and Cherokees, though the social standing of such people remained unclear. Among the Choctaws, for example, the Badache was allegedly held in great contempt. Walter Williams counters such claims by taking a more positive view of the Badache in the woodland Indian societies. Okay, so they're saying the Choctaws, they had them, but they didn't like them. That's what this guy's saying. Williams contends that 1825 testimony of the above-mentioned Cherokees offered rare proof of the existence of two-spirit people. Moreover, Williams suggested that such a source constitutes a clue about the special social status that two-spirits enjoyed among the woodland Indians. Still, written evidence is thin and disagreements persist among historians. Okay. Says historian Roger Carpenter maintains that the paucity of written sources related to two-spirit people in 18th and early 19th century Southeast makes historical analysis on this topic both difficult and controversial. Diane, you said a sound you make when you put your drink down. It's like you're drinking wine from a beer mug. It's a coffee mug. It's a coffee mug. Dante Parker, hey, peace, Dante. He said, I'm Cherokee and two-spirit, but I don't consider myself LGBTQ. Not every LGBTQ is two-spirit either. Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. Like everybody that's, homosexual, transgender, or bisexual do not, agree with LGBT. Just like, everybody melanated don't like Black Lives Matter. So those are political constructs. All right. Mm-mm-mm. If this histography established anything, it was the 18th and early 19th century Europeans and Euro Americans associated Native American Badache with transgressive gender behavior and non-reproductive sexual activity. Historians generally agree that these perceptions remain relatively constant in the racial imaginations of 19th century Euro Americans. Right? So they, kind of took the spiritual aspects out of it and they focused mostly on the activities, right? Let's see what else they talking about. Let me get back to the Cherokee, y'all. Um, while well intentioned, such scholarship did little to convince Native Americans that the word Badache was anything other than offensive. As a result, Native American gender theorists and LGBT scholars went on the offense in the 1990s, labeling the word Badache as a byproduct of settler colonial heteronormativity, okay, and heteropatriarchy, I guess. Those some big words. Oh, thank you, Diane. All right. So, just like I was saying, it's during the early 1990s that the term Two Spirit began replacing Badachi. Okay, I guess because it's offensive. Okay, so this is a little back history. Who is this? Fiona Meyer Cooks, a Native American political analyst, elaborated on Lang's analysis by underscoring the spiritual significance of Two Spirit people in indigenous communities. According to Myers Cook, Two Spirit people are part of a historical tradition that was seen by many Aboriginal communities prior to colonization, whereby individuals with diverse gender identities were valued for the unique contributions they made to community life. Those who were seen to have both male and female spirits acting within them were asked to fulfill key ceremonial roles. Okay, that goes to the spiritual aspect, right? Mm-hmm. All right. I'm trying to get to the Cherokee part. All right. They're asking a bunch of questions on here. Oh, man. Historians of 18th and early 19th century Cherokee societies endeavor to interpret archival documentation and understand written sources and related to Cherokee epistemologies. Okay. Toe required Cherokee town and clan members to give in good health, balance, and peace with one another. OC required Cherokees to live with the land in a state of neutrality, balance, and needs of town with the ability of local environment to provide those needs. Okay, so just talking about historical, the place of people. For example, during the first decade of the 19th century, Cherokee Giga, or beloved woman Nancy Ward, placed an active diplomatic role in attempting to preserve balance and harmony between Cherokees and white settlers. Okay. I don't know what they got to do with Two Spirit people. So really, I don't know what that has to do with nothing. Okay, I'm trying to get to the good part, y'all, because I didn't get a chance. Yeah, the cup. Y'all talking about my cup. Yeah, the cup is kind of heavy. Hey, Walter. All right. It says, given this, historians generally agreed that Ward's diplomacy was in keeping her role as a beloved woman and was not evidence of her two-spirit identity. Wait a minute. So Nancy Ward was a two-spirit? Okay, where did I miss this at? Let me go back. Though Cherokee gender identities and social roles came with a degree of malleability, there exists no documentary evidence to support insinuations that Cherokee, like Ward, assumed a two-spirit identity. Such people may have been asigi or extraordinary, but historians reject the connection that some gender theorists and LGBT scholars make when they posted that extraordinary Cherokees like Ward were two spirits. Okay, so people are arguing. Some people think she was, some people think she wasn't. All right, and no proof that she was or wasn't. Okay. Says two historians in the assertion that Ward was a two-spirit remains unsupported by evidence and is generally dismissed with speculation. But what would be the evidence that she was, though? They didn't really put that on here. Let's see what else going on here. Critical theorists are cognizant of the fact that these non-Cherokee observers did not travel among the indigenous people of the woodland South expecting to chronicle the existence of two-spirit people. When the authors of these sources had their curiosity piqued by perceived anomalies in sexual or gender behavior, they most surely lacked the cultural awareness, theoretical frameworks, and appropriate language to comprehend and adequately describe what they saw. So basically, they were not equipped to, tell their stories of what they saw. Perception, they looked at two-spirit only in a sexual way. Exactly, and that's not what the case was. All two-spirit people did not have a same gendered sex. That's what the whole thing comes down to. Okay. There's a lot more pages. This is 27 pages, so I'm trying to get to the good part. But actually talks about the information, not just these opinions, from the Europeans. Okay. Yeah, and the whole perception of what a true spirit is. And they're talking about the hermaphrodites as well, which is different because, they're born with two genders. So it's a physical, not such, not a spiritual aspect as well. Okay. So y'all can read all this. I'll put all these I'm keeping the links up, and I'm going to put all of these in my Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Tasha She if you want to get it. Some of these are going to be free. Other ones going to be in the paid section because these are from a paid academic journal site. Okay. So this is a picture right here, and you'll see the other picture. These are melanated Indians, and you'll see their hair is more textured in the actual colored drawings. But this one, they say, this is Jack Chequez La Monet. I do not speak French. De Morges, and this is a watercolor. So this is one that's in black and white. Employments of the hermaphrodites. Okay, this is courtesy of the State Archives of Florida. So these are the Florida Indians. These are the Florida folks. All right. And it says, Le Monet imagined rather that these individuals with ritual worlds of such importance that they were probably viewed by their peers as people possessing extraordinary spiritual powers. Okay. So you're saying they used the hermaphrodites in rituals. Okay. And somebody has while visiting the Sac and Fox tribes, this is George Catlin. Catlin observed a ceremony that he later painted as dance to the Bardache, reflecting on what he witnessed. Catlin wrote bluntly, "This is one of the most unaccountable and disgusting customs that I ever met in Indian country." Okay. Very homophobic. So Catlin had witnessed this. A lot of y'all share Catlin's pictures and drawings of the indigenous people, and he actually has a drawing of these Bardaches, or two-spirit people. Okay. Okay, somebody else. Is this Catlin still? Yes, Catlin Steele. Yes, right. You need to lay back down. Said, I should wish that the Badache, might be extinguished before it be fully recorded. Okay. So he had very homophobic standings and opinion. But he still recorded it. So he's saying he wished it was extinguished, but you're the one that recorded it. So you're not really hiding anything. All right. So just imagine how much other things were lost to history because people had a strong opinion against it and they did not want to record it. So these are the little instances that were recorded. Okay. I'm trying to see, they're not really getting into deep about the actual Cherokee traditions. That's what I'm trying to look for. Okay. All right. So somebody said, the article says, thus, if two spirit people existing among the Cherokee, evidence for their playing a prominent role in social, political, and ceremonial life would surely have services at the local level and in town and clan life before the American Revolution or in farmsteads in decades following the Revolutionary War. Yeah, he said the colonizers were and are major narcissists, of course. It goes back way further than 1900s, right? You said I thought the transsexuals were the new thing that started in 1900s. Nope. No, you see the evidence here. They've been around for at least recorded here in 1513. This is the earliest record from the Europeans that I have. And we have oral tradition of them as well. Okay. Such archival evidence is absent, with the exception of C.C. Trowbridge's unpublished manuscript that I begin this essay with, tends to support historical conjecture about the absence of two-spirit Cherokees in early America. Alternatively, the dearth of written evidence also tells us the story about the interpretive inadequacies of such individuals, all these big words, contributing to the ethnographic archive of settler colonialism in North America. Okay, so it's a lot of speculation that they're saying. Certain tribes it wasn't as prominent in as others. Okay, all right. Life in the fruitful valleys changed quite dramatically for the Cherokees in the half a century after Glenn wrote those impressions. During the decades, disease and depopulation, trade, land speculation, sexual and social mixture, and increasingly incidences of frontier violence and warfare led to what Wilmer Dunway describes as ethnic reorganization among the Cherokees. Amid the cacophony of colonial forces that it altered town life and led Cherokees to reconstructive kinship bonds and communal farmsteads after the American Revolution, evidence written that details the presence of two-spirit people remained rare. Okay. So mine's back probably far back as an omen. So probably, or maybe farther back then. We can only talk about the evidence because that's how they discredit us. They discredit our oral traditions. So they say we can only go by what the colonizers wrote. So this is what we're doing here, right? For example, William Adair's The Best of the 18th Century's chronicler, The Life Among the Woodland Indians, inadvertently provide evidence of hermaphrodites in the course of describing a violent incident between Upper Town Muskogee warriors and Chickasha traders in 1746. The catalyst for this incident was the ill treatment meted out to the Muskogee women by the Chickasaw men. Go to the next page. Who forcibly viewed the nakedness of one of their women, who was reputed to be a hermaphrodite. So they had male and female parts. That Adair's record of Muskogean hermaphrodites was incidental to his larger narratives of intertribal violence reveals much how white men saw gender, transgender, and sexuality as perpetual. What? Did I say that right? Peripheral, sorry, to the recording of indigenous techniques of war, frontier violence, and colonial trade. These are a lot. They're smushing a lot of words into this. Okay, as Dasgrove contends, oh wait a minute. Gender and LGBT scholars identify these reputed hermaphrodites as evidence of existence of two-spirit people. As Draskell contends, Cherokee two-spirits passed down to each generation, new generation, a connection to spiritual traditions because they were imbued with the qualities of both man and woman. The spiritual qualities of Cherokee Two-Spirit, however, were poorly understood during the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Okay, so some of those, probably all of those, spiritual traditions were lost, pretty much. Mm-hmm. All right. According to John Howard Payne, the early 19th century performer and avid chronicler of Cherokee culture and history, the most sacred spiritual traditions were closely guarded, knowledge of them being reserved to the initiated, quote unquote. As gender theorists and LGBT scholars read this history of secretiveness about ritual and ceremonial knowledge, the guarding of such knowledge helps explain the gaps in colonial archives in relation to two-spirit people. So a lot of the two-spirit information is only for initiates to different tribal secret societies that we had. A lot of them disappeared because people hoarded knowledge, so they had to go. So Cherokees believed that these worlds were inhabited by both malevolent and benevolent beings that included little people. There's some Nacomos I talked about before. Night walkers and great monsters, and the original humans who were made from the red clay. So this is interesting. The narrative of Kanati, Lucky Hunter, and Selu, Corn Mother, and their sons, the two Thunder Boys, became widely known during the 20th century, owing to the ethnographic works of James Mooney at the end of the 19th century. Yep, and they burned our books. They sure did. They sure did. All right. So that's talking about the details of Cherokee oral tradition. He focuses on the destruction of Kanati gave his sons after the murder of their mothers. These instructions, Payne's Cherokee informants told him, are held very sacred among them and only impaired with great solemnity, when initiated into the greater mysteries of their religion and then under engagements of secrecy. They're asking why secret. Of course, Europeans think everything is secret because they don't want people to mess with their traditions. That's why. But anyways, Cherokee scholars William Anderson, Jane Brown, and Rogers, I know y'all see these familiar surnames, linked to the secrecy described by Payne to the quotation that I opened this essay with, and the role that cross-dressing people played in important secret Cherokee rituals. Though the connection Anderson, Brown, and Rogers make is supported by the slimmest of written evidence, is nonetheless reflective in the oral histories collected by ethnographic observers such as Payne and Mooney over the course of the 19th century. By the late 20th and early 21st centuries, gender and LGBT scholars cited similar oral testimonies in an effort to connect Cherokee traditions to two-spirit. Okay. Let me see what else. I'm trying to look for the evidence, right? They're not really citing a lot of evidence. Mm. Says within these circles, 18th and early 19th century Native Americans, like the Cherokees, worship not physical forms but spirits that live within the interconnected life forms or creations. Cherokees, like other Native Americans, worship spirits within animals and not the physical forms which the spirit live. Okay. Um. Oof. So Cherokees may have felt no need to identify two-spirit people to missionaries, traders, and ethnographers because their physical appearance was incidental to the special spiritual gifts that they possessed and the ritual roles that they served. Moreover, refusing to give non-Cherokees access to the knowledge and thus over the most sacred details of ceremonial life may have protected Cherokee two-spirits from the often disruptive colonial gaze of government agents, missionaries, and ethnographers. Mm. Yeah, the Cherokee formed basically the people who was telling all the business. The informers, right? Informers. You know, they had the informers in all these tribes. That's how they know so much about us. But, you know, the good thing about it is because a lot of us lost that information. The information that an informers gave is given us back a lot of our culture. You know, even the people who are in these recognized tribes, they know that they lost a lot of their cultures, especially on the Tidewater area in the East Coast. So this is how they get that information back, right? All right, so let me get down to this. All right, in other words, they saw the world very differently from the ways in which Cherokees perceived the spiritual value of the world around them. And we might reasonably speculate that they only saw what Cherokees wanted them to see, the rituals of everyday life that non-Cherokees observers saw included practices that they believed were designed both to designate one's gendered identity in Cherokee society and to establish social standing. An adult male, for example, had daily grooming routines. Y'all know we stay clean. That reportedly include the extraction of eyebrows and facial hair. Okay, so basically they shaved up their beards and their goatees and things like that. So you Cherokee, Tara? All right. Yeah. So our men stay well groomed. You know, they trim up their eyebrows and their facial hair and stuff that our men still do today. You know, unlike other cultures. All right. William Bartram reported that the everyday attire of Cherokee male was very simple, though they occasionally wore a ruffled shirt of fine linens and cloth boots. That sounds like Prince or something. Ruffled shirt. This sounds very Prince-like. This yeah, well groomed and a ruffled shirt. What y'all say? The shirt versus the blouses. Sounds very Prince-like. Cherokee women wore knee-length petticoats made of woven cloth. In ceremonial context, a chief might wear a shirt made from a gold-dyed buckskin, leggings, and matching feathered headdress. Beloved women wore knee-length skirts woven from feathers and seamed with down plucked from the breast of a white squaw. What swan? I better say squaw. A white squaw. If a ceremonial dance was performed in preparation for warriors going into battle, dancers wore rattles masked during the ceremony. I mean, the ritual. All right, women brewed ceremonial medicine that often included the use of sacred herbs, minerals, coals from the sacred fire. You said we had ops back then. Yep, them informers. That's what we did. That's part of the reason why we're in the position we are today. These informers. Okay. It says the observers observations of similarly detailed nature were made. Male priests identify themselves as leaving a tuft on their head and shaped a ring around it about 2 inches wide. Women anointed their hair with the bear's oil and sprinkled it with red and yellow dust. Okay, so look at where's the two-spirit stuff? They're going all over the place with this. Women have in certain cases dressed in men's clothing and gone to war. It's the evidence of Cherokee warriors. All right, the warriors were not strictly men. All right, so that's it could be a masculine woman, could be a two-spirit, could be that could go either way. You said your cousins be cooning. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So the historians could reasonably counter that the existence of Cherokee women going to battle dressed in men's clothing is evidence not of two-spirit people, but of female warriors wearing the appropriate battle attire of the day. Should such evidence then be interpreted as proof of gender bending, quote unquote, behavior, and in keeping with one of the theoretical defined characteristics of two spirits? Or should a more cautious approach be taken to the conclusions we draw from such sources? Yeah, like I said, it could go either way with that one. Right, they could either be two-spirit women warriors, or they could just be women warrior, or just be plain just warriors that happen to be women. It's all, we didn't have such constraints on things like that. If a woman felt that they could be a warrior, then they could be a warrior. They didn't necessarily have to, they didn't necessarily have to like women. All right. Okay, they're talking about Nancy Ward. They said that the LGBT scholars is overreaching, saying that she's cross-dressing. I don't know. See, we got to get into that. I never heard anything about Nancy Ward being two-spirit at all, so this is new for me. I'll have to look into that a little more. Okay. So this is about it to the article on that one. Now I got a whole bunch of other you said they had them burly, fearless women out there whooping. Yeah, they whooping tail. One thing he said they whooping ass. Yes, they sure was. So this is called Cherokee Two-Spirit Gender, Ritual, and Spirituality in the Native South. And let me see what else I got going on over here. It's a whole lot of them. I'm not really going to go to them, but y'all can look up all these, and I'll have these in the Patreon. So this is North American Berdache. So we already know what this one is about. All right. I'm talking about the Berdache in North America, Mexico, in this article. Okay. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of these articles. Hold on. Just breaking down the whole history. I really don't want to get into all of these. So let me stop the screen share. But yeah, hopefully y'all got something out of this. I put a whole bunch of evidence. I'm gonna have all the PDFs available in my Patreon. Let me put it in the chat. So www.patreon. I hope I spelled this right. Y'all know I don't have about 2 glasses. Tasha She. If y'all want to hear, I'm gonna have that up for y'all by the morning. Hopefully I can get them all up after I get off of here. All right. You said you have a female and gay cousin friends who throw down, period. Right. All type of people throw down. It shouldn't be limited to who. It's some people, there's men who are not aggressive, not warrior type. They shouldn't have to go to war just because they're male. So yeah, sound like that. Plus we didn't like them and they still don't. Oh, I don't know what you mean. All right, but y'all, I appreciate y'all staying up with me. Hello, I don't know how it's been 2 hours. Told you I'm not gonna do 4 hours on this one. I could do 4 hours, but I have a. If y'all look at the top of my thing, it's full of tabs. But I'm gonna put those all in the Patreon so you can see. But I just put like most of the hardcore proof that I could on this one. You said you found an uncle in Virginia due to you. Thank you. Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm gonna start back with doing the Tidewater tribes, right? Maryland and Delaware and Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I'm gonna start doing that. I don't know if I'm gonna do it tomorrow or not. I might be exhausted tomorrow. But y'all, I appreciate y'all. Please share the video out. If people have any questions about. I mean, people are such an uproar about my post. They got offended and act like there was no evidence or proof. But I just showed y'all 2 hours worth of evidence and proof and receipts, and I still have more that I didn't put up there. So I appreciate those who stayed here and watched and listened. So just please share the video out, like and subscribe if you haven't, and give it a thumbs up because that helps other people find the channel so they can learn, and hopefully they can find an uncle in Virginia like Miss Skill Gamer. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. It's about helping everybody, and hopefully we all can get on the same page to have our genealogy done and have our all our affairs in order for our family, for the future 7 generations, and to represent the past 7 generations. Okay, so I really appreciate you guys. Oh, no problem, Diane. You love the light. You love the nighttime lives, right? Good night, Briar. I'm Marquetta and Curtis and Tara and Young Noble. Check out Young Noble's channel. I know he's I think he took a little break from it, but yeah, he has some good videos. Check him out on Instagram. He has a lot of good videos on Instagram. A lot of good pictures on Instagram as well. Tara, you're Patterson too? Okay. Oh, you from Patterson? Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get into those tribes up there. All right, I appreciate y'all. And please check out nograndmakillers.com. We got our next event in Galveston, Texas. I'm so excited. Let me put it in the chat. No grandma. I'm having trouble typing too, y'all. Excuse me. I had something to drink. Oh, that thing just disappeared, didn't it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so check us out in Galveston. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be on the water. We got a tiki hut. We're gonna have another event place. Hopefully, we're gonna have the fireworks out there. It's gonna be, of course, it's gonna be a family event. So I can bring your don't hide your wife, don't hide your kids. All right, bring your grandma and them, your auntie and them out. It's gonna be a nice family reunion type environment. We hope to see y'all, all our Texas people. Hopefully, Texas people came out in Dallas. We hope to see y'all down in Galveston or Houston people. It's not that far from you, so we hope to see y'all as well. And appreciate you all. Okay, so in the Powhatan language, to say goodbye, we say ana. So ana.